Good day. I'm Mike James, and this is Parkitect. Hope everyone's doing well today. Got a great show for you. Today, gonna show you a kind of space-themed roller coaster. Not a whole lot of theme, but I did something. I think it turned out okay. It's kind of hard to tell. I looked at it for so long. Did something really unusual with it. We'll show that to you. Also going to show you a new building idea I had. The building is reasonably basic, but I'm taking one of the new rides they have that they just added, the motion simulator ride, and I'm going to build a building around the motion simulator ride. Going to put a couple of them in there and just decorate it in a neat way, and I'm going to put all these over in the area of the park that I've designated for my, future area, just a little bit past the Main Street area that we've been showing you. Hope you all are just ready for some fun. This is going to be a great show. Hang on tight. It's coming right at you. So here we are, and I'm just going to run through this a little bit. This is just the building of the coaster, and I used HPop's time-lapse mod to just give you a quick overview of how the coaster was built. I messed up the camera work a little bit on it, and it cuts off right here on the right, but it'll come right. I just turn around and continue going up here. I think this is a good way to show you the overall design of the coaster without having to show you a fast-forwarded video of, 40 minutes or 20 minutes here. You notice at the very top here, when it first starts, it goes straight and then turns upside down and then has a big inverted loop. That is just, I think that's amazing. Have a couple of loops there and then some snake turns and then a roundabout. Slow it down right before it comes back to the end. This is the basic layout for the coaster itself. Here it is up and running. I decided to use very small cars, just one length cars, because I'm making this as if it's maybe an escape from a space station through an asteroid belt or something. And so I'm using the space themed scenery out of the Sci-Fi set, and I'm just making maybe a launch tube up here at the top. One of the things that I found out about this set that I hadn't realized before is that the bottoms aren't curved in enough. They're much wider at the bottom, so they're more than one square wide. You look here, I try to put a square there, and it doesn't cover it all up. It's annoying. But I tried a couple things here. You'll notice I tried putting this, and I thought, well, maybe I can do something to kind of cover it up. And it just really didn't work out the way I had anticipated. It's one of the things when you're designing something, especially the scenery, and you're putting scenery down, you can't let yourself get frustrated if the first thing you try doesn't work out. One of the things I realized was I had to put a second level to this because it's turning upside down. Without the second level, if I put a floor in there, the people's heads would be scraping through the floor. And you probably wouldn't see it, but I'd know it was there. When I finish here, if you look inside, when they spin around, their heads kind of scrape up against something in the interior because of the way I decorated. Because another thing about these walls is that where they meet, because the bottoms are wider than the tops, you can see looking here, there's a gap. And I had to put in some little walls there to close in that gap. But you see how they turn around when they're going through here? I think that's a great idea. If you've watched my videos, you know I like to kind of empathize with the people riding the ride. I like to think about what they're thinking about. Right here, I'm just using the standard path covers, and I hit Alt-4 to allow me a little more control, so they only stick out a little bit on the right and the left. And of course, later we'll color them so you don't notice. And we'll put a little extra decorations just to kind of finish it off and make it look nice. And one of the things is that when you're building your things in Parkitect, you want to take it to the level you want. I tend to be very picky about my buildings being as realistic or accurate as possible, as far as not wanting to have things like this hole that you probably would never see if you're viewing it from above or even below, but I know it's there. I want to fix it. There comes a point where I just say, okay, I've done enough, and that's one of the harder things, is knowing when you've done enough on a building, when to stop. Putting too much doesn't always add to the overall effect. Now I'm going to go ahead and just fill in this other side, and now I'm taking these little pieces here and I'm just trying to line them up so I can kind of put them along the edge here. Now they don't go, I made it so they don't butt up against each other. These are actually from the I call it the utility set. It's like the pipework set, infrastructure I believe it's called, and that's fine. I like the look of it. It has that just a little space in between them, makes it look very industrial to me. So we'll put those along both sides on the outside, and I am actually going to put them along the front of the tube. One of the missing pieces or things we don't have right now is a good way to end these tubes with like a doorway or something for this kind of a coaster. Because it can't have a bottom to it and you can't flip anything upside down, there was no way to get both levels to have a gap through them that really looked right. So I just kind of left it open a little bit. I covered it a little bit just to give it some decoration here. You'll see, just a little something. And on the other half, because you're flipped upside down, I can only do 2 levels high. Otherwise, people would be hitting their heads. I put the 3rd level in initially, but then I looked and saw people were hitting their heads and deleted it. See them hitting their heads there? Oh, okay, so let's delete that. So that's the launch tube. Now, one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to give the feeling that, as I said, you're escaping from a space station or something in an asteroid field or whatever the case may be. So I wanted to add something else to this coaster, but it's very hard to theme a big, tall coaster without just going over the top. So I took some rocks and I sized them up. The rocks in the nature category, several of the rocks, the ones that are in the base game, can be sized up anywhere from standard size up to 5 times standard size. I colored them the darkest color they can be colored. They're recolorable, but only to 5 or 6 different colors. And then I kind of stuck them in so that they look like they're being supported by the coaster supports itself. Maybe these are, big foam and fiberglass rocks. But I like the idea of, as you're going through the ride, you're going to see these big rocks just hanging out, quote unquote, in space, and just make the ride that much more exciting. This idea kind of grew on me. When I first started doing it, wasn't real sure if this was going to be something I was going to like. And initially I thought, wow, that looks a little strange. And okay, yeah, sure, it looks a little strange, but it's unique, it's different, and I like it. And if you want to do something different on yours, hey, that's the whole idea behind this game. Use your creativity to make something that you find absolutely awesome. Imagine going up around that loop and your head is just a couple feet from these rocks the whole way around. Another thing I did, it's kind of hard to notice because I think right now the game is in fast forward mode, but when you're getting to the top of these loops, one of the things I always, or typically, stress is you don't want to let your roller coasters get too slow, because the fun of the roller coaster is that you're moving really quick. But in this ride, I made it so that when you got to the top of the loops, you're actually going very slow as a way of maybe building up the suspense. Now we're back here into the entrance, and what I'm doing here is I'm using that same Sci-Fi set we used up top, and I'm just going to kind of put everything inside of a building here to complete the theme. Now, one of the things about the Sci-Fi set is that there are very few pieces. You can look, there's not a lot of pieces. And while you can use pieces from other sets to kind of supplement, you can't very well put them against the curved walls of the Sci-Fi set. It's difficult to make look right. And honestly, there's just enough to make a small, or at least limited in scope building like this entrance here. I think it looks really good. And we'll just cover up everything with a roof, and that'll be our roller coaster here. And I tried to decide if I wanted to use these curved roof pieces, but I ended up using the 4 corner roof pieces. Just as you can see, I'm trying out here what I like best, and I decided on which one I wanted and just put it down. Now, you could, of course, change the colors. I think in the end, I do end up changing the windows to be more of a light blue, or a lighter blue, almost a white. Just to give it a little less of a, I think the blue, it's fine, but to me, it just looks a little, I don't know, it just doesn't quite look right. Just throwing a couple extra pieces on here, trying to make it look a little more complete. This dish I ended up putting here at the last corner. It just didn't look right at the building there. And eventually I will add some signage to this. I just haven't had an opportunity to go ahead and, yeah, I tried putting these up there. Did not like that at all. Haven't had an opportunity to go into Photoshop and make a sign for this. And I'm still trying to decide what to call it. Maybe I'll, call it, asteroid belt escape or something like that. The word escape seems to come up in a lot of my roller coaster names. I wonder if this says anything about me. So now let's move on to part 2 here. This new ride that they added, the motion simulator. You've seen these before. They're fairly popular. They haven't gotten as popular as people thought they would 10 or 15 years ago when they first came out. But I didn't want to just have one plop down in the middle of my park, so I decided to make a set of 3 of them and put them inside a building. You'll notice that my entrance path kind of snapped to the side, and if that happens to you, just delete the path and then reattach it. It'll stick to whatever path it's currently stuck on. And you'll notice we have 4 different, ride types. Star Escape or Starfighter and something, Black Hole Escape or whatever. I made them different. I think the peeps will treat them like different rides. So they're not the 3 motion simulator rides, but they're 3 separate rides as far as people are concerned. Reminds me a lot of the old Star Trek ride back in, it used to be in the Hilton Hotel in Las Vegas. They had the Star Trek Experience, and it had 2 different rides you could go on, and they were both the same ride. It's just different motion simulator movies, I guess is what you call them. So here we made 1 level at the ground level, and then I'm going to make, of course, a half level, and to do that we add 2 quarter levels, because that's the way the building set number 1 works. And I'm going to use the new metal roofs. There's a new metal roof in the game from the latest version, Alpha 3, but look what I'm doing here. I am taking an actual ride. I'm going to use this as a decoration on the top of my roof. And yeah, nobody will be able to ride it. It isn't there to be ridden. It's there for a decoration. Now, these are those new metal roofs. They came out and were shown a lot with the brick buildings, but I think they look really good. And I like the shininess to them. I think that's really a nice look for them. So we'll add that. You'll notice there isn't really any flat roof piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this curved roof piece, then flip it around and add it again. That way it'll have these little lines in it, but it'll be flat on the top. And I don't have a problem with the roof alpha blending not matching where part of the roof is shiny and part of it isn't. So now I want to get rid of that ugly fence. And unfortunately, they took away the ability to just delete fences off of rides. As an upgrade, they made it so you can easily replace the fences. So all I did is I just lowered the fence, another kind of fence down, a short metal fence. And I think that looks okay. There's nothing wrong with it here. And now I'm going to try to make this a little more animated. I'm trying to add smoke. In the end, I realized that the smoke machine, as opposed to a smoke, I don't know what this is, just a smoke emitter. The smoke machine has a directional smoke, so I can just kind of stick that in the middle. Look at that. That's awesome. We've got this active smoke machine. It makes it look like an actual ship's about to take off. Now, I spent a little time trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the outside of this building. I'm still not entirely happy with what I came out with, but I think it looks pretty good. I wanted the front to have a little more decoration than the sides, so I decided to just put on some of these some of these little wood pieces from building set number 2, and then just frame them with a horizontal beam of some sort. And doing that, and I'll be able, that way I'll have a little more of a interesting look to the front. We are going to go ahead and put some signage in the front using the billboards mod, and I actually just reused a previous billboard that I'd already made, and it just kind of fits. And you notice I saved this a couple times. One of the reasons I'm saving it a couple times here is in the latest update, Alpha 3, the billboards are sometimes causing the game to crash. It's very uncommon, doesn't happen a lot, but it's unpredictable. It will just come out of nowhere, and there's nothing more frustrating than getting a building 3/4 made and then having the game say, oh, why don't you make that all over again? So I went ahead and you'll see me save a couple times as I do this. So we're going to use the some of the scenery from my old arcade building. It kind of fits the theme. And then here is that's the arcade sign. I'll change that in just a minute. I'm also going to color each of these rocket ships, or whatever you want to call them, independently. I just want them to be different. Most people, you'll never see them, but as with so many things, it's not if you see them, it's if I know they're there. So for the side of the building, I was trying to decide what kind of color, and I thought, well, let's go with a gray color scheme. You know, it's a military kind of thing, right? It just looks kind of nasty. I did end up going with colors that I'm not entirely thrilled with. Maybe I'll change them. Maybe they'll grow on me. But I was trying to decide what I could do for a design on the outside of the building. So I went ahead and I just put some trim, and you notice I missed where the trim, I was placing trim 10 feet away from the building, and then when I deleted the trim, I deleted a couple of the back walls. Hey, that makes it my video. So we'll do this, but I still wanted something, you know, something more tangible on the side of the building. So I'm sitting here trying to think, what could I do? And I realized that I do have this, there's a set out here, I think it's called Ronaldo's or Recklers, or I'll have to look at it, building or decoration set. Here's that sign I'd made before, the Galactic Federation Recruiting Center. So it's Rezival, and he has these circles. And I tried a couple different things to get these circles to look good. And in the end, I made something that ends up reminding me of the Steam logo. But, you know, you just do what looks good at the time, and I'll be honest, this is the best I could come up with that I thought didn't look terrible. You'll notice I'm trying a couple different things here. None of them really worked out. I was not thrilled. Yeah, we're going to go the whole thing. This is not some kind of Celtic building. I thought, well, maybe if I put some small circles on the top, that'll look better. It didn't. It's just, I mean, it looks great for a completely different style of building. Now, one thing I wanted to mention to you, notice how easy it is to delete all those. When you're deleting things, if you hold down the delete key on your mouse and then you scroll, it'll only delete things out of the same building set. One of the things that you might want to consider doing is make sure that if you're putting different things onto your building, if you use different sets, you can easily delete all the pieces that are in one set and not touch the others without having to click individually. It's a little trick that, if you can remember to use it, can be very, very helpful. Now here, this is building set number 3. Has a lot of angled pieces in it for just this kind of thing. And I decided to use these, but then I realized that last piece is a lot closer than the others. So I spent a little time trying to find a short piece that would work good. In the end, I ended up just going with a horizontal piece. And I think you can see where this kind of is just a little bit reminiscent of the Steam logo. It's certainly not the Steam. Yeah, that looks like crap. Take that off, Mike. It's certainly not the Steam logo, but it gives that impression. Now, so I didn't have to go through all that on the other side. I made a temporary blueprint of it. And when I say temporary, it means I probably named it temp or 00 temp or something like that. Yeah, 00 temp circle. And that means that if at some point I decide I need to clean up my blueprints, I can go ahead and just know that that's a temporary one. It's nothing major. Now here, I put some things down. I tried to put a second set down to see what that looked like. It looked like crud, so I changed it. Now at this point, all that's left is to finalize the colors I want to do. So I decided on this kind of a deepy browny red for the trim, and I'll end up changing it a little bit, especially the wall colors. I couldn't decide exactly what looked good, what looked okay. I didn't want a real bright building. I wanted this to be a little more somber, a little less, you know, in your face bright building. So I use this kind of, I don't know where you go. Is this a mauve? I'm not sure. So this color is what I ended up with, and I think it looks okay. And I left the roof this dark color. I think that looks good. And I really, the more I look at it, the more I like it. I'm not sure if it really fits with the grayish theme that I have going on over in my sci-fi area, but I think it'll be okay. Here I'm just cleaning up the colors on these things, and you notice it works the same for the paint. If you click to paint one thing, you can just hold and drag, and it'll only paint things out of that set. So there we are. I'm going to paint those just to differentiate them. Saved it again, and because I knew I was going to change that sign, and that's when it seems to crash on me once in a while. Got lucky, didn't crash at all. There we are, the Galactic Recruit entrance. And if you pause the video and look real close at that sign, you notice the design on the top and the bottom. It also spells out Galactic Recruit entrance, just in a real stylized font. Here, I put a red light inside the building. It, of course, carries through the top of the building. I like that. It gives a red glow, not only to the interior of the building, but also to that ship on top. Here we are. I'm going to place it into my sci-fi area that we have here, just past our Main Street area. You'll notice on the left there, I did add a temporary train track, monorail track. We'll connect it up, and I decided to see if I could use path covers to kind of round out these new paths they have, and it actually worked out really well. I just put these little corner pieces in here. I covered up the corners for the outside. I inserted corners for the inside. Then I just kind of color matched it so it was close enough, because the idea is it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough so you're not really going to notice it. See how, if you look at that one, you can barely see it at all. Now here I'm testing out, and there's a color that's good enough. And now look, the path looks nice and curved, very spacey-like. I love this building. I think this building is great. I'm hoping to make lots of money on it, because my park needs to start making some money, because eventually they're going to add the economic stuff in here, and I can't have it be losing money like it does right now, because I just build like crazy, and without worrying about who's coming to the park and how much they're paying for each ride. So what do you think? Here's the roller coaster. I just put the roller coaster in. This is the size I had, and that's why the roller coaster was, when I designed it, that's why I made it so thin, was so that we could have a little bit of space to add other things. So tell me what you think. Do you like it? Is it something that you'd want to put in your park? Leave a comment down below if you enjoy the show. Please subscribe. I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching in either case. Until next time, I hope each and every one of you has a good one.